Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Breaking Rocks here on the YouTube channel of Drew Entertainment. I am the one and the only Drew of Drew Games and Drew Entertainment YouTube channels. And you can also find me on Twitch on my channel for playing Xbox games of Drew Games as well over there. On today's episode, this is number 36 for Breaking Rocks here on YouTube. We'll be going over The Last of Us Part 1 Remake, being priced at $70. Aspire Media fire art director and design director for the Kotor Remake, and what that means for that game. PlayStation Plus Essential Games, or the Instant Game Collection as it was previously known before, for August 2022 has been announced. So have the Games with Gold games, but hey, Chunk. We'll go over the one game that matters for the Xbox Live Games with Gold shit. Yep, fuck Naughty Dog indeed. That's why I'm wearing it, because we're going to be talking about Naughty Dog on The Last of Us today. And as the title of the stream on the thumbnail is, we'll be talking about the Chicago Bears apparently intending to move out of downtown Chicagoland Soldier Field at some point, and what Mayor Uglyfoot is going to be doing to try to convince the Bears to do it. Spoiler: it's not what she should be doing with city money. And finally, GTA 6 to go woke and broke. And anything else that my partner today has to talk about as well. Speaking of my partner today, the one and the only Desert Nord 26, my younger brother. Hey, bro.
Hey there.
And as you can tell by the fact that you don't hear him, Joshy is not here today. Uglyfoot indeed, Chunk. Joshy's not here. He is celebrating his birthday today with his family. So happy birthday, Joshy. Shout out to you. Go follow Joshy064 on Twitter. And yeah, so I was going to start with a rant about Lightfoot, but considering that it's Joshy's birthday, I think we'll just talk about nice things about Joshy instead. So,
well, like I was telling you before the stream, it's good that people, get to interact with him too.
Yeah,
we appreciate whenever he gets a chance to, interact with his favorite streamers and see him doing things.
So with that in mind, I think we'll start with how we met Joshy.
Well, he was just a guy, who started watching your channel.
Actually, how Joshy and I met, he came in that one raid from Mara on the Twitch channel, which actually started drawing attention to the Twitch channel.
Yeah.
And then he and I started talking from there, much like with Chunk the Punk and I. It's basically the same exact story that I have for Chunk as well. I met Chunk the same way. The only thing is that Joshy was on Xbox Live, so he's been able to do this with us. If the roles were reversed, I firmly believe that we would be it would be Chunk the Punk and not Joshy in this situation here.
Yeah, well, all the best contributors are former fans, and that's how it always tends to work. I always think back to the example of how Jeremy ran into Ryan Canal.
Yeah. So shout out to Mara Jade for how Drew Games looks today. It's because of her. Because if it weren't for her, it would just be Nord and I the whole time. It would be just two brothers ranting about bullshit on the internet.
Oh, yeah.
While still looking for a replacement for CD the entire time.
Yeah.
Which was not our will, it was his. He wanted us to find someone to replace him so he could stop doing this.
Yeah.
And then enter Joshy, and then he's like, great, I'm glad Joshy's there. Now I can finally quit.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But on that note, I forgot what I was going to say now. I know it was about Joshy.
Yeah, you were just, point out that Yay, Joshy, his birthday weekend.
Yeah, he's 1 year older than me. So happy birthday, Josh, you old fart.
Yeah, old man.
By only about 7 months, but still.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But on that note, anything else we want to say about Joshy other than, well, actually, I remember the moment that I'm glad that we brought him onto our team on YouTube was the moment that he was in the Halo Infinite forums complaining about Halo Infinite, and he got banned from it.
Yeah, of course.
And that's when I went, hey, Joshy, do you want a job on our channel on YouTube?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Which I think actually was right before he got banned. And then he got banned, and I was like Jeremy with him about it. I'm like, he got banned from the forum. I'm so proud of him.
Yeah. Yeah, and then, we would just say, have everybody go follow him on Twitter.
Yeah.
Joshy064 on Twitter.
Right up until he ends up in Twitter jail for like the 100th time.
Yeah, he's got quite a history at this point.
Yeah. I wonder if he'll be in jail again by the end of the day.
Yeah. It's only after he goes on a rampage that he gets banned.
Which is every other day.
I mean, he'll make a point of it too. He'd be like, like everybody like hold my beer. I'm about to go on a Twitter rampage, and he'll just go running through a whole bunch of like Disney shill forums.
Except for I'm not the one that should be. Except for I'm not the one that should be holding anybody's beer, because I'm pretty sure that I'm going to look out and go, oh, thanks, and drink and drink it myself.
Yeah, but you know what I mean. But yeah, it's what he does best. He's a fighter and a lover.
So, Joshy, don't make me hold your beer, because when you come back, your beer is going to be gone.
Yeah.
But on that note, speaking of reasons to want to drink, The Last of Us Part 1 Remake being priced at $69.99. And the multiplayer is not going to be a part of the remake.
Yeah, so it's essentially half of the game that you used to get
for more money.
Only somehow it's supposed to be better, which I doubt, and it's way more money.
Yeah, because when The Last of Us Part 1 first came out on PS3, it was like $59.99. And like
and they're talking about how like they're trying to make it less controversial, whatever. I'm like, yeah, I know what that means for you people. I think
you're thinking about GTA 6, which don't beat us to that.
No, that's a different story. I understand they were trying to make some small changes to The Last of Us Part 1 Remake so that people would be, according to them, quote unquote, less offended. Now, that also was a statement that was made by the GTA people in that story. It's the same exact statement. So it's like some kind of industry-wide like memo or something. I don't know what it is, but clearly the remake they're doing here is going to probably push the original game a little closer to its sequel than anyone wants it to be pushed.
Yeah. And Chunk's pointing out in the chat the multiplayer was still never released for Part 2 of The Last of Us.
Oh, sure, but who fucking cares about that game?
I will tell you this: if they release a multiplayer for 2, that would be the only reason to fucking play it, because the single player fucking doesn't mean jack shit.
And I despise that game. It's like the Last Jedi of video games to me.
Yeah. But I will say this, the controls and gameplay for Last of Us Part 2 were the best part of the game. It was the story and the narrative that was the absolutely worst part of it. graphically, gameplay wise, it was one of the best games ever made. And
sure, yeah. Everybody talked about how it's so graphically groundbreaking and all this other stuff. I'm like,
which it
yeah,
was.
but imagine a graphically groundbreaking game that literally tells the fans, "Hey, fan, fuck you."
Yeah, which
It's
is
like
exactly what that was.
insulting you while it's enthralling you supposedly. I, I don't know. I'm not so dumb that I overlook the main point of something like that. The main
So,
point was to tell you to go fuck yourself as a fan of the story.
so I will say this: if Naughty Dog were to release a Last of Us or Uncharted multiplayer standalone game, I probably would get it and play it online with the other PlayStation people.
Yeah.
For
Well,
no for only that reason, because there would be no, hopefully no narrative to it. It would just be about playing like a multiplayer game with Chunk at that point.
sure. Obviously, multiplayer is a whole other animal from single player.
Yes.
We all know this. True for every single game that comes out. Whenever there's a multiplayer on a game, it's a whole different thing than the single player. It's why a lot of people live for that type of thing, because it's a whole different, and it's like an entire different kind of species of video game, you know. And but they're not including that in the remake of Part One. So, what's the point? You
And,
know?
and I do agree with you, Chunka, that Uncharted 4 does look better than Last of Us Part 2, but just barely.
Yeah.
At that point. But on that,
I mean, it'd be hard pressed for Uncharted 4 to be, nearly as much of a disaster as Last of Us.
yeah, the only question that I had was during development. Well, I should say after the game came out with Uncharted 4, it was revealed that the developers there were asking questions like, for example, at the end of the game, I guess initially Nathan Drake was supposed to have a son. Then they were asking, well, why does it have to be a boy? Why can't it be a girl? And does changing the sex mean anything to the story? And they went, no. They're like, all right, then it's going to be a girl.
Yeah.
Okay, whatever.
And that just means they're trying to fill quotas,
At that point,
quotas
yeah.
and things like that. Sad, but not as, not as bad as some other things we've seen.
Yeah. Speaking of things that are questionable,
because on its face, there's nothing wrong with having a character be any given identity. Any certain identity is irrelevant.
Yeah.
Whatever that identity is not the point. The point is that when they make that identity all the character even is, or that they're a hero just because of their identity, that's the problem.
Yeah. But speaking of issues, Aspire Media fired art director and design director from studio that were working on Knights of the Old Republic remake. Development is currently put on hold. And as we well know, that Saber Media was supposed to be helping with development of it, right?
Yeah.
So could this mean that Saber Media might take full control of the development of Kotor Remake in the future because of because of Aspire Media looking at new contracts and new other shit in light of leadership departing the project?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes, Chunk. I was talking about Fuckman. Yes.
Yeah. Isn't he lovely?
I think the ones that didn't agree with him left on their own accord. Fair enough. I was just going off of the information that I had been given, Chunk. So I guess
I
they
wouldn't want to work with Neil either.
Chunk is talking about at the moment with this other message, the art director and the design director of Aspire Media just leaving, I guess, on their own.
Sure.
Which that was also a rumor too. So
and understandable. Also, I mean, if you disagree with the direction of a project, why stay on it? I mean, I know it's a job, maybe, but most of the people that are good at what they do in this regard don't have that much desperation that they have to do literally anything they're offered.
Yeah. But in
So,
the case of Saber, if they take over development of the Kotor remake in full, that I think would be a positive thing. Because look at what they did uh with with the most recent release that they had, which was the Evil Dead game, which we've been playing and whatnot.
yeah.
Well,
Yeah, which is good
well,
fan service, which is good
yeah.
game making.
And when I say we, I mean myself, Joshy, Chunk, Biggles, and Wicked Virtue together.
Yeah, and one thing I will say about that is like that's how you're supposed to do a game.
Oh, and Mara,
That's about
fuck.
yeah, that's how you're supposed to do a game about a long running series.
Yeah,
You're not supposed to be like, oh, let's make it something it never was. Let's change everything. Let's make it, you know, bold and stunning and brave. Like, guys, let's just try and stick to the, material. It's very simple. Stick to the source material, and you will be fine.
yeah.
People will beat a path to your door
To do
to get
a
a copy
yeah
if you stick to the material.
to do a modern version of Knights of the Old Republic 1 or 2, for that matter, you don't need fucking writers. If you need a writer at all, it's just to stick to the story that was made in the original version. That's it.
Sure.
At that point, all you need to do is the graphics, the gameplay, and to figure out if you're going to do turn-based combat or real-time combat, or put in the game a way to let the gamers choose which version of that they want to use.
Yeah, or if you want to like do new voice actors, you know.
Uh, yeah,
Sometimes
Chunk.
remakes will do that.
If they were to fix Evil Dead, we'd probably play it more often. Indeed.
Sure, and the thing was that what I was about to say about that game is that at least you can say that the game developer wasn't trying to piss you off.
Yeah, they
You
were
know,
trying to do something interesting that reminded you. Well, if you're an Evil Dead fan, which I never
yeah,
saw any of the movies, I only got into the game because Joshy wanted someone to play it with.
yeah.
So I let Joshy play with me. Don't read into that, people.
But yeah, I mean, all multiplayer games have trouble with server issues and loading
Yeah.
and gameplay and mechanics and things like that. Those are all customary problems with all multiplayer games. But at least you didn't have to worry about the game being some dumb woke bullshit like a lot of these other games,
Yeah.
or an insult to the fandom of the series, because it wasn't that.
Yeah, so your final thoughts on the KOTOR getting put on hold development wise, and what this means for it going forward.
Well, I think it could be a good thing. I mean, you don't want a bunch of woke developers rushing it.
And you don't want a
Rushing.
broken version of Knights of the Old Republic coming out, making the original port from the original Xbox looking like it came out yesterday.
Yeah, we don't want to give credit for incomplete work. We don't want to give them props for something just because of the name or just because of the provenance of the game that originally was amazing.
Yeah.
And, you can't just do anything and slap a popular title on it and call it a work of art. It's like you have to put in effort. All right.
Yeah.
And game developers used to do that. They used to do things passionately. They used to actually love what they were doing and not just use it as some kind of platform to browbeat people with their politics. Okay. Now, again, it is worrisome they were talking about hiring a writer because you're changing things. Then I'm going to be like, okay, why? Why are you changing things? This is one of the most beloved games of all time.
Yeah. So on that note,
Maybe even in the conversation of greatest game ever made, possibly. I mean, top 10 for sure. So why would you fucking hire a writer?
yeah,
You know, so good. If it's delayed, that's a good thing. These people need to be held back and calmed down and told, look, you're not gonna just willy nilly this thing. Don't fuck it up.
yeah. And on that note, before we get to PlayStation Plus games and the Games of Gold stuff, I do want to give a shout out to a YouTube channel that definitely deserves it, and that's let's see, JetSparks 373 and Talking Pinheads 12, which I was on his channel yesterday. So thank you, Jet, for having me on your channel once again for the second straight open mics on Saturday on your channel. So if you aren't subscribed to JetSparks373 on YouTube, please go do so. He does Talking Pinhead open mics every Saturday through StreamYards. So,
Yeah.
anything you want to add about JetSparks?
Well, I'm not as familiar as you are with them, but I was watching some of their content because you had brought them up earlier. A couple of days ago, you had brought them up.
Yeah, because
so
I knew that I was going to be back on there again with him because I was intending on doing so.
They seem to be a sort of parallel channel.
Yeah,
sort of similar
on
style.
Talking Pinheads 11, we were going into old original Xbox Live videos and whatnot. Yeah. And then yesterday we were watching and talking about old G4. Not the one that was the Titanic sinking, although that's kind of what happened when they first shut their doors. And I believe I said at the time that, which it was the case, and was absolutely true, that when they shuttered their doors and like they did the final episode of X-Play, I was watching that on TV at the time. And I watched live as they aired it, the very last episode of X-Play. So as the Titanic that was G4 and X-Play sank, it literally sank right out from under my feet. And I was just floating in the ocean going, well, shit, now what?
Yeah.
And then came floating by Angry Joe in his lifeboat. And he was like, hey, what's up? I'm like, hey, can you pull me out of the water? Yeah, sure.
Yeah, they should have never tried to revive it because, you know, there are certain things from other eras that you'll just never make better. You'll only make them worse. And boy, they definitely made it worse.
Yeah, so
it was not close.
Yes.
It was a disaster.
Yeah, so once again,
thank God it's not success after the shit they put people through. You know,
yeah.
The crap that the fans have had to receive just for being fooled into tuning into the reiteration of the new programming on G4 is disgusting. Everyone involved should fucking apologize for that if they have any dignity and actually give a shit about gaming as opposed to activism. If they like activism, I don't know why they fucking bother with G4. Why don't you like activism so much? Why don't you just spend all your time on Twitter or have a freaking lefty political show? There's tons of those.
Yeah.
Why try to pretend like it's going to be about gaming when it's going to really just be about your lefty politics?
And I know I've said this before, and I'll say it again because it's exactly word for word what happened. G4 went under. I was searching for something for game reviews, and I found YouTube, and I found the very first channel that I ever subscribed to was the Angry Joe Show on YouTube. The second one was Melanie Mac's channel. So in the moment of searching for gaming content on YouTube, I found Angry Joe and Melanie Mac first. And I'm still subbed to both of those channels to this day. So shout out to both Melanie and Angry Joe. specifically Angry Joe, because he was the one that inspired the creation of Drew Dat Games in the first place. So,
yeah.
So thank you, Angry Joe, for the inspiration to start doing this myself. So, I'm grateful to you, and stay angry, my friend. In other words, keep playing Madden. which coincidentally, apparently, Angry Joe started his channel to shit on Madden at that point. But on that note, PlayStation Plus Essentials game for August 2022 are as follows: Yakuza Like a Dragon, Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2, and Little Nightmares. Nord?
Yeah. Well, yeah, so you have a modern masterpiece, and then you have two classic, or a dual classic combo there.
Yeah.
And then you've got like an appetizer at the end, or a dessert. I don't know.
Little Nightmares is a fun little indie horror type game, which is creepy but not overly fucking scary. Yeah, Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2, which you and I know Tony Hawk Pro Skater games at this point.
Yeah, exactly. Those are American classics.
And then you have Yakuza Like a Dragon, two games that I have both for the Xbox One and Series X, respectively.
Sure, and I consider Yakuza Like a Dragon to be a modern gaming masterpiece.
Yeah, so these are three games that I don't have on PlayStation that I'm probably going to do Free Play Fridays for on YouTube at that point then.
Yeah, so if we're going to compare this offering to other offerings, obviously it's far superior.
It's one of the better ones of the last 3 to 4 years for both Microsoft and Sony, but it still isn't like blow your shoes off fucking amazing. It's just good.
There are wet dream lineups we could think of, but it's appreciated.
And then on the Xbox side, there's only one game to actually fucking talk about, and that's simply what the fuck's the name of it again? Saints Row 2.
Yeah.
All the others I've never even fucking heard of before. Indie games that I have no idea what the how the fuck do you even say any of their names either? To be honest with you.
So in that case, obviously, if we pit the two against each other, obviously, the offering on this is far less interesting than PlayStation.
Just like last month, because last month for Sony, there was Crash Bandicoot 4, About Time, and so on and so forth. And then Dark Pictures Anthology and Arcadegeddon, and then Games with Gold was Beast, Roletica, Thrillville, Off the Rails, and Torchlight.
Yeah.
Big fucking deal.
Yeah, not that exciting in that lineup either.
Yeah, so Microsoft's still mailing it in, and then there's still, come the end of the year, the fact that Xbox One games are going to be or is it 360 games? I'm not sure that are disappearing from it.
They're talking about 360 games.
Yeah.
Quite a few, yeah.
So does this mean that at that point, and I have to bring it up, are the next gen games going to replace that? So there's still like at least 4 games a month, or are they just going to replace it with original Xbox games and Xbox One Series games?
It's kind of weird, and I still don't quite understand. I don't understand the move at all, and it just feels. It feels disjointed. It feels like a mistake. I wouldn't do it if I were them, but whatever. I'm always criticizing the way they're doing things.
Chunk in the chat says, I added Arcadegeddon to my library. Looked interesting, and it's got co-op.
Yeah.
Haven't played it yet, though. That's fair. There's still time for me to do that because these games don't go live till Wednesday of this next is it this week? I think I think it's this week. So I still have a couple of days to do that. Well, I already own a physical copy of Crash, so I don't give a shit about that on PlayStation. But speaking of games, what's that?
Yeah, I was gonna say about Arcade again. Yeah, that looks a little bit more, interesting in the originality category. Um, you always like to see new IPs like that.
And in the case of Arcade Chaos, there's Rubber Bandits, which is
Oh, yeah.
which is free on Game Pass.
Sure, we were already having a
And it is
yeah.
also on
Good game.
PlayStation for like $20, and it does have cross-platform play, so we can play it with PlayStation people. We just would have to use the game chat at that point, if it even has one.
Yeah. Yeah, and I like the one that Joshy had mentioned the other day. Um, the
I will get back to you on that chunk.
The Multiverses game.
Yeah.
That's another good one. We probably should look into playing that against each other because I think that's on Game Pass too.
Considering that by the time we wind up getting to that chunk, it probably won't be one of the PlayStation Plus titles anymore. So it wouldn't be for Free Play Friday at that point. It would just be on a random day by then. I'm just saying. But on that note, speaking of games, GTA 6.
Yeah, it's kind of worrisome headline.
So if your biggest thing is Latin booty, GTA 6 is going to be right up your alley because you're going to be playing as a Latina in it.
Yeah, and like I had said before in previous conversation, the reason this is concerning is not because, oh my God, they're going to have Latino female lead. I don't care about that part.
Yeah, that part doesn't.
The part that's concerning is that it seems like the design team of GTA 6 is trying to make this game into something that GTA isn't.
The part.
It's trying to make it unoffensive, and I don't understand the point of that.
Yeah, the part that is concerning was what they said in their press release about GTA 6 and whatnot, of how it's not going to offend people. So, in other words, it's going to offend your fan base. In other words, is what you're saying.
I mean, I literally don't understand playing. Why would you play a sanitized GTA? Why would you do that?
There already is a sanitized GTA. It's called Watch Dogs.
Yeah. Well,
I'm just saying.
What I mean by that though, is that the game, all the way from its very birth as a series, has always been a game that is edgy, pushing the line, almost making the player uncomfortable with what they're being asked to do.
Mm-hmm.
And if any time that a person would enjoy what they're doing in the game, it's because what they're doing in the game is essentially horrible. All right, something that would get your ass put away for in real life. That's the whole point of the game. That always was the whole point of the game. So I don't know what their point in making it so uncontroversial is. Why would you do that? Other than you're trying to just wokeify it like every other damn thing that they do these days. I have a feeling that they want to try and do exactly the same crap with this series that they've done with others, where they make it in title, and it's basically a preachy, woke, just hard to get through without rolling your freaking eyes at how much this game wants you to think things about its beliefs and your beliefs and all this other stuff. It's like, first of all, GTA was never that deep. Okay, the only reason it was awesome is because the game is an escape. The game is a different world. The game is a place where you can steal a car and run from authorities and assault random people in the street and do all these horrible things. And it's just another playthrough. It's not like, the game doesn't take itself so seriously as to believe that it's a big point for cultural or socio-political change, like these developers are currently talking about it. Like, they're getting it twisted, thinking that, oh well, this game, since it's been so culturally important since the release of San Andreas, that means that we need to utilize this cultural zeitgeist and make it into something that preaches our political point of view. That's what they're doing right now, and I hope people see it ahead of time before they go and buy a copy of this game, thinking, "Oh no, it'll be fine. It's a new GTA. Those are always good." I really hope people aren't fooled by that.
Yeah. And I said this on Talking Pinhead yesterday on Jet's channel when I brought up potential sales of GTA 6. It's going to not do anything. And compared to, for example, GTA 5, it's been reported many different ways that it's the second highest selling video game of all time.
Sure, and it would be considered a cornerstone of gaming history.
Yeah. And a quick quiz for the chat. I know you know the answer, Nord. Chunk, what is the highest selling video game of all time? Then, if GTA 5 is only number 2, what's number 1? Let's see if the chat knows. Because I know you and I both know at this point, Nord. Because we had this conversation last night. But while we're waiting for the chat to come up with the answer, any last minute thoughts on GTA 6 before we get to Mayor Uglyfoot of Chicago?
Yeah, I just will say that GTA 6 looks like a failure in the making. Not necessarily in terms of sales. People will be duped. I expect them to be duped into buying a copy. But I expect it to be just as bad as any other failure in gaming that we've seen. Granted, I don't expect it to be like Fallout 76 levels of bad, but I expect it to be a dark chapter in the GTA history.
Just make a guess, Chunk. Because Chunk says in the chat, I don't know what the highest selling game of all time is. Just take a guess. Just throw something out there. Because who knows? You might actually get it right. But on that note, Mayor Uglyfoot is, i.e. Lightfoot or Heavyfoot, depending on your point of view.
Yes, Lori Lightfoot.
Yeah, proposes $2.2 billion plan to try to keep the Bears in Soldier Field, i.e. by putting a roof on it. Quickly back to the game thing. Chunk says Mario Kart 8 for all he knows. Unfortunately, you do see that in the background. The fuck happened to the shit here? Okay. Unfortunately not. I don't know where that place is, but number 1 is in fact Minecraft. Is the number 1 selling game of all time. Which ought to not surprise anyone because it came out on PC, Xbox 360, PS3, Xbox One, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Xbox Series S, Xbox Series X, and mobile devices. In more places than GTA or any other video game ever. So,
yep.
Oh, and on the Switch too. So yeah, so it's Minecraft. Minecraft, as I call it, Minecraft. So back to Lightfoot. Yeah.
On the story there, okay. The problem that you have here, and Lori doesn't understand it. Of course she doesn't. But the economics of Soldier Field are not as good for the Bears as their other prospects. Not just because of the fact that it's officially now located in a part of the city that not as many people want to venture to. It also is the smallest seating stadium in the entire NFL, which means they have a revenue limit just on seating alone. And it's beginning to affect their ability to compete in the league. On top of the fact that they've struggled to even draw people um, to games because of their team.
Yeah.
And so the economics just is bad for the Bears to stay at Soldier Field. And they've already won a bid for the horse track that they were going to
Which
outfit and
is in Arlington Park in
Sure,
Illinois.
yeah, the Arlington International Racecourse. They
Yeah.
won a bid to own that land there. So they're way more interested in that.
And moving
you know,
30
that
miles
place-
out of the city.
Yeah, it's 26 miles from downtown,
Yeah.
which in Chicago means less than you think it does.
Yeah, because
But
I remember when we were kids, we lived in Chicago Ridge, and we could see the downtown skyline from our apartment building, or specifically our apartment, because we were on the top floor, and it was like 30, 40 miles away.
yeah, the thing is that Chicago is not the largest city in the world.
Yeah.
It's not small though.
It's yeah.
Sprawling, it's huge. It's an urban metropolis.
The Phoenix area is a lot bigger.
Oh yeah, of course. Phoenix is one of the largest cities on the entire planet. It's like third in line. But
Yeah.
Anyway, Chicago is big, but it's not like it's not record smashing or anything. But anyway, the move out to Arlington Park is out of the urban area.
Yeah, specifically the
not,
place is most hit by the piss poor policing of downtown under the mayor.
Yeah, where Soldier Field is actually legitimately a dangerous neighborhood at this point.
Yeah.
And it's depressing attendance, and so is the play of the Bears, which is a separate problem. The seat limit of 61,000 at the stadium at Soldier Field itself is a limiting factor. So the economics just does not work anymore. And so they're moving on. It's as simple as that. And Lori thinks, oh, we'll spend $2 billion to build a dome on top of it. That has fuck all to do with the problem, Lori.
And secondly, if you ask real Chicago Bears fans, they're like, a dome is not Chicago football. Playing out in the fucking snow is Chicago football. Look no further than Ryan Kinnell, RK Outpost's comments on his own channel, because he talked about this too. Shout out to him. We're fans and fuck Naughty Dog. But still.
But yeah, the thing is that, yes, Ransom, the team wants to play indoors. Okay, they do. But that is not the primary factor here. That is not going to change anything to say, oh, let's build a dome on Soldier Field. They're going to be like, yeah, but what about the seating concern? What about the attendance? Oops.
What about
we're not addressing that problem?
What about the safety of the people going to the fucking games?
Sure. And the thing is that, yes, obviously there are people bummed about this idea of moving the team out of Soldier Field because it's a historic site. Obviously, one of the most famous stadiums in the entire United States.
Yeah, the Bears have been there just about their entire existence.
Well, no, they started playing.
I said just about, not their entire existence.
Well, I mean, you say that though, but the Bears have been playing football since the 1930s.
Yeah, because they used to be at Wrigley Field where the Cubs play.
Sure, but I wouldn't go as far as for their existence. No, they've been playing since the 1932 season. All right.
And a fun fact about the Chicago Cubs, they got their name because of the Chicago Bears. We're already there.
That was kind of funny. That's a funny little naming story that went on there.
Yeah.
And it's good for you to mention that, but it's sort of beside the point here.
Yeah.
The upshot for Bears fans is that this isn't going to happen immediately.
Yes.
Okay, it is a lease that ends, and then a new one which will begin elsewhere. And they expect there to be the full blown field and all that to be done and ready in Arlington Park in 2034.
Yeah.
So we're a ways off from witnessing the Bears play somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just a proposal. I mean, it's more than a proposal now. They are moving out of the field. It's essentially a done deal. They're not going to stay there past 2033.
Yeah.
That will be the last season they play at Soldier Field. It's done. It's over. Complete. But after that, I think the fans will appreciate how much different and how much better the team has it out in Arlington Park. All the
Indeed.
way around.
So on that note, do you have any topics you want to bring to the table before we
Yes, well,
do something new here on Breaking Rocks to end the stream?
yeah, the one story I did want to mention was the story of Nancy Pelosi's Asia trip and the Chinese government making threats and the global tension involving Taiwan and all in one nice little hamburger of political bullshit, we'll call it.
So what's going on?
Well, they had planned Nancy Pelosi to have a regular ambassador style trip
Mm-hmm.
to Asia. They do these things sometimes, Senate Majority Leaders and whatnot. Since she's been that basically in and out since '06 for the Democrats, she's been all over the world. But anyway, this particular trip has a scheduled stop in Taiwan, and the Chinese government decided to point a threat towards the U.S. federal government by saying that if Nancy Pelosi's plane enters Taiwan airspace, they will shoot it down. And people in the news media have been making a lot of this, and a lot of people online have been like, "Oh my God, if they shoot down Nancy Pelosi's plane, we're at war with China at that point." It's like World War III. And I'm like, okay, well, if we believe everything the Chinese government says and all the saber rattling they do, the thing about it though is that the Taiwan problem, we'll call it, of China wanting to take Taiwan the longest. It's not a new problem. It's not a new political issue. It's a long-standing political feud going back almost 100 years.
I agree with you, Chunk. Chunk simply says that China is an asshole.
Yeah, well, I kind of was making that point along here.
Yeah.
But yeah, they were an asshole yesterday. They'll be an asshole tomorrow. That isn't changing, and it isn't new.
Mm-hmm.
But it's an interesting series of events. It'd be interesting to see whether or not our officials just go, you know what, fuck it. Like, we don't care what they say. We're doing what we want to do. It'd be interesting to see that. But it would also be interesting to see if they don't have her visit Taiwan on this Asian trip. Then I'd be like, oh, wow. So basically China is making threats and we're abiding. It's kind of it's a catch-22 because if you ignore their threat and then something happens, that's a huge international disaster. I mean, in terms of, international relations. It's essentially just a big mess at that point. But if you do, take the threat seriously and divert and don't have her go to Taiwan, then you just look like you back down and you're a pussy. Like you're letting China threaten you into doing different things than what you would have done otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a catch-22. It's something I don't know whether I doubt anything will come of this whole situation, just because I doubt everybody is actually sincere, especially Nancy. But but I know that it was a big sort of news bit to point out that you had the Chinese government actively threatening to essentially kill the Senate Majority Leader.
Mm-hmm.
But anywho, yeah, that was the only story I thought about bringing up, or felt like I needed to bring up.
Now, before I do the new thing that I want to do at the end of this stream, I do want to announce next Sunday, Breaking Rocks. If there, on the off chance, isn't anything major to talk about, expect that to be Breaking Rocks of a unique type of stream in which I want to celebrate the careers of Nova Rockefeller and Tom McDonald, celebrate Hangover Gang in a Tom McDonald / Hangover Gang special stream of Breaking Rocks next Sunday. But that's if there is nothing major to talk about throughout the week and whatnot. If there is a bunch of shit to talk about, then we'll hold off on doing that, like for a future Breaking Rock stream when it's like a slow news week type of thing. Your thoughts on doing that, Nord?
Oh yeah, that's fine. I mean, obviously, like you said, if news is slow and there's not much to talk about,
then we will pull the trigger on celebrating Hangover Gang on a Hangover Gang special. Speaking of something special, normally we would just go right into outro and like tell people what we're going to be up to after this and where you can find all of us. But seeing as how it's Joshy's birthday, I found something on my shelf that I want to, I wanted to bring up, and that's Star Wars Mad Libs that I found on my bookshelf when I was moving a bunch of shit around. So, and I opened this up and looked at the first one that on here, and it had been done and filled out. And I read through this first one. I'm like, who the fuck did this? Because this first one is called The Power of the Force. But I read through the words that were written here, and I'm like, what idiots? And then I remembered where I bought this and who did this. I bought this at like a Lark Toys place when I was with friends when we were going up to Mall of America and the Renaissance Fair and traveling up north back, like some years back. And I wound up filling this out with them. So this is what my former friends and I had come up with. So, The Power of the Force. Oh, and by the way, on this stream, I want to do the next page with you guys in the chat and with you, Nord, if that's okay with you.
Sure.
All right. Yeah, because I want to start doing some of these at the end of the Breaking Rock streams. So, this is what my then friends and I had come up with. The Power of the Force. The Force is a mystical, majestic power, as Jedi Master Obi-Wan Kenobi once said. The Force is an energy field created by all living balls. Are you with me so far?
All living balls.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
That surrounds and penetrates us and binds the sun together. Using the power of the Force, a Jedi can do many colorful things. Like using the Force to exercise big toe, control over dark-minded darts. A Jedi can also use the Force to move objects with his or her penises.
Oh, Jesus.
It doesn't matter how black colon these objects are. It only matters how abnormally The Jedi believes the Force, most importantly, the Force teaches a Jedi to rely on his or her feelings. As Obi-Wan Kenobi told his student, Luke Albuquerque Walker, I can't read the writing on this one. Yeah, I cannot read the handwriting on that one. I'm pretty sure that I didn't write that. So I'll skip over that one. Don't trust them. Instead, a Jedi... Fuck. The mic turned off on you. Great American literature. Chunk is going nuts in the chat over this. Don't trust them. Instead, a Jedi should aggressively trust in the Force. And apparently the next page got started, so we'll skip the first word because that one's already written in. But this is the one that we're going to do together, folks. The Power of the Dark Side by Emperor Palpatine. So we'll start with Nord. I'll do the next word, and then chat, you can do the next one. The Force is female, Chunk says, yeah. So Nord, first we need an adjective.
Okay. How about sticky?
Sticky, okay. STICKY. All right, next up is me. We need a noun. What the hell is a noun again?
It's a person, place, or thing.
Okay.
But not a proper noun, because a proper noun would be a very specific place or a very specific person or a very specific thing, as opposed to a general, like say the White House is a proper noun, but a house is just a noun.
Okay.
So it's looking for just a noun.
So chat, I need from you a plural noun. And then while we're waiting for that, Nord, I need a verb ending in ing.
Okay.
So Nord, a verb ending in ing from you.
How about kicking?
Okay, first let me write down what Chunk said in the chat for the plural noun. And then you said kicking?
Yeah.
All right, and then an adjective from me. And then I believe, so it was chat, Nord, me. Chat, I need from you an adverb. And Nord, from you an adjective. So Nord, an adjective, and chat, an adverb.
We'll go with was the word broken an adjective? I believe it is.
All right, and then an adjective from me. So so I took broken from you then, Nord.
Yeah. So it is an adjective. Good. Yeah. We'll go with that one.
Okay. So that was from me. So next from chat, plural noun. And then Nord, a noun.
Let's see. I suppose we intend to make this salacious, so let me think.
Well, the first word that was already written here is off to a great start. So before before we even started. And then I have to do last name of person and room. And considering that we don't use last names here, since this is live on YouTube, I'm going to just use the last name of our usernames for someone that's involved in this.
Okay, so for my noun here, I'm going to go with the word soda can. The noun soda can.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then chat a noun and Nord a verb, and that's the end of it.
Okay. For the verb, we'll go with slap.
And chat, I need a noun, and that's the last thing here. So far, this is quite fun to do. I think we'll try ending Breaking Rocks from now on by doing a Star Wars Mad Lib. What do you think, Nord?
Yeah, sure.
But we'll see how this goes once chat finally gives us our last noun that we need. Yeah, okay, there's one from Chunk right there. All right, so as we finish filling this out, this is the story of The Power of the Dark Side by Emperor Palpatine. This was the story that he told to his apprentice that was not recorded in the Sith archives. As Shit Sidious, Sith Lord and sticky leader of the Galactic Empire, those two go together pretty well. Shit and sticky.
Yeah.
I know firsthand how powerful the dark side of the Force is. If you become a Sith and a city who uses the dark side of the Force, you will have all the powers of the Jedi and more. Unlike the Jedi who only work with the light side of the Force, the Sith can use the dark side to stop the buttholes he or she loves from kicking. The Jedi would never try such a slowly thing. It's obvious to someone who has studied the dark side that it is more powerful than the Jedi could ever gently imagine.
Okay.
Yeah. The Jedi might tell you that the dark side is quicker, easier, and more broken.
Oh, definitely that.
Yeah. I admit that they may be true, but those who join the dark side will know lumpy power beyond their wildest cats. Yeah. Like me and my soda can, Darth Punk. Those who practice the dark side of the Force are destined to rule the pizza. Join us or slap. So in other words, Darth Smith.
So in other words, Insidious has very little ability to conjugate verbs and come up with proper English sentences.
Apparently. So next week we will end the stream with what's okay. Oh yeah, that's the one we just did. So next week we will wind up doing Watto's Junk Shop. So that ought to be fun for next week at that point. And Chunk is just and Chunk and Red Hood are slapping in the chat.
Oh boy.
So thank you for being here for that as well, Red Hood, for the reading of that Mad Lib that we just finished filling out.
And so if you are slapping in the chat, make sure you do the chat way, which is gently.
Yeah, make sure you're doing it gently, and make sure you're doing it to both cheeks to one another in the chat. But on that note, that's all we got here for today. Where can people find you, and what are you going to be up to after Breaking Rocks today?
Well, I'm probably taking a nap, but people can find me on Twitter at Desert Nord 26, and also YouTube Desert Nord
as well,
as usual.
Because you do memes and that kind of thing, like once every
I haven't done
7 months or so.
Months, but
yeah,
I haven't done one in a bunch of months. But yeah, and I could have done a lot of them obviously. There's opportunities galore. Especially, I was really, really tempted to make one of the girl's most recent video, that bookshelf building video.
Well,
I didn't want to start anything.
Well, I think you should, because I think it would be funny.
Yeah, well, of course it'd be funny, but you see, I know it's already bad enough as it is. I'm quite sure with thousands and thousands and thousands of people, was flocking to her video. By far her most popular video.
Yeah, to look down her shirt.
Yeah. Well, not even really. I mean, that was just a view. That was a straight line view.
Yeah.
And boy, yeah, right. Boy, there are some moments in there where I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
That's all you need to say.
If it were not on YouTube and it were on a different video site, I would understand. Because there's a couple of what we would call money shots in that video.
But on that note, you can find me also on Twitter as dat_Drew. You can find me on Drew Dat Games here on YouTube, on Drew Dat Games on Twitch, which I will try to be live on Twitch in a little while, doing what I don't know yet, but I'm going to try to be live playing something today on Twitch or this evening, one of the two. And you can find me here on Drew Dat Entertainment, the channel you're watching right now. And also, once in a while, I will end up on Jet Sparks 373's channel for Talking Pinheads, much like I was yesterday as well. Thank you, Chuck. And once again, thank you, Red Hood, for being here as well. I appreciate both of you very, very much. And I will see you guys over on Twitch in, time is it 2:14? By 4, maybe 5 o'clock in the evening here. So in about 2 or 3 hours, give or take, at the latest. So until then, I'll see you guys later. Have a great one. And always remember, may the force be with us. Fuck Naughty Dog. Raylos are weird. Fuck Lori Lightfoot and her $2.2 billion. And fuck Joe Biden. And Nord?
Yeah, let's go Brandon.
And we will see you guys. Are you sure about that this time?
Yeah.
Okay, Nord is sure about Let's Go Brandon. We'll see you guys next time. Later.
Yep. See you guys.
And happy birthday, Joshy.